And now, broadcasting from our nation's capital in Washington, D.C., it's Free Association. Here's the Fort Smith Fireball, your champion of chicken, and the Sultan of Segways, Mark Lane.
Is this thing on? Of course it's on. It's on 91.3 FM. I'm Mark Lane. I'll take you through the headlines and the happenings of the day out here in Washington, D.C., as well as play you the best in true alternative music here on Free Association. Do you want to hear some DuckTales, The Kills, Citizen Monday, Brahms? You'll hear it right here on Free Association, and you can hear whatever you want when you dial 343-7913 and give us a request. Here's the Cave Singers with Swim Club on your only choice for true alternative music. Brahms brought it out on 91.3 FM, and if you want to bring in a request, dial 343-7913. Before that, we had California Wives with Purple, and before that, Plan B with the Recluse. And let's say you are a Recluse with the long beard and the long fingernails and the Ted Kaczynski persona, living in a wooden hut, listening to I, Mark Lane, on Free Association on your battery-powered radio. You still can figure out what's going on in the world when I read you the headlines, just as I'm doing now. Take a listen to this. Did you hear about Michelle Obama's plane nearly crashing into an Army cargo plane? I wonder if they can blame the FAA for that one. I've never seen so many plane mishaps like I have under the Obama presidency. Remember last year with the Air Force One in New York City there freaking out the Manhattanites for a photo op? Yeah, I think that's what they're called, the Manhattanites. I'm not sure. I'd have to ask Donald Trump since he's from the area. A lot of people are asking Trump questions these days, particularly the Republicans. They're asking him to run for the presidency. You know, that's what they want. They want him to stand up there on January the 20th, 2013, and after saying, "So help me God" on the Bible, they want him to tell Obama, "You're fired." That's what they're looking for. That's the only thing they're looking for. And I think that they should give caution to that, to what they want. Speaking of Donald Trump in New York State officials nearly banned tag, wiffle ball, and kickball at day camps. You know, I wonder what was next for them to cut. Maybe they were going to come after foam Nerf balls because they were afraid it could put somebody's eye out. Yeah, what a bunch of micromanagers. It's a good thing they backed off there. No wonder kids are obese in America today. They take away all the fun games, and then they're supposed to exercise. How can they exercise? Maybe we should put them in peanut packing, and then they'll burn calories that way. They won't get obese, and they won't put an eye out. All right, here's a new one. You want to know why people in surrounding states make fun of you Okies? This is why. At the University of Oklahoma, a professor is considering teaching a course with the curriculum being Jersey Shore. Did you hear what I just said to you? A professor at the University of Oklahoma would like to teach, a sociology class and use Jersey Shore as the curriculum. Let's say you're a parent. You spend thousands of dollars and send your child to a university, and then you look at their fall programming, and you see math, you see algebra, you see biology, you see psychology, you see mass communication, you see Snooki. What? How'd this happen? I'm paying thousands of dollars for Snooki. This is the precedent, I guess, that was set when she spoke at Rutgers there. You know, but that's crazy. How could they have a class? It reminds me of like that Star Trek class or whatever that somebody teaches. I think that's a university in Florida, if I'm not mistaken, that has a Star Trek class or whatever. They're having crazy classes anymore, you know? And it's Mark Lane Free Association, 91.3 FM. That's Cage the Elephant with Aberdeen. And before that, Coed in Cambria with Here We Are Juggernaut. And before that, Like Lee with Youth Knows No Pain. I'm Mark Lane, and here we have an article from Match.com. It's like a decoder ring for what girls say to you. Some of it's pretty helpful. Like, for instance, if a girl says to you, "You're really sweet, but I have a boyfriend," what it means is, "You're really sweet, but I definitely don't want to date you. I'd rather be a missionary." All right, I admit I'm taking liberty with some of this, but you have to admit it's still pretty funny. Here's another one. If a woman says to you, "Why don't I take your number and I'll call you," what it means is that she doesn't want you having her number, and she's going to take your number and give it to the next schlepper that asks her for a number that she doesn't want having her number. Here's another one that you need to pay attention to. If she ever asks you what you've been up to, what she's doing is she's subconsciously nagging you. She's subliminally nagging you, asking why you haven't called her and if you're seeing somebody else. Oh my gosh, she's a termagant at that point. And then finally, if she ever says something to you like, I love the way you smell, then what she means by that is, I love you, but I don't dare tell you I love you before you tell me you love me. And now here's some guy speak that needs to be decoded to girls. If you ever do that to us, I mean, you're waiting around for that? You're waiting for us to tell you that we love you? Then you're going to wait a pretty long time, long enough that it's going to be snowing down in the place where the souls go that don't get to go to heaven. Let me put it to you that way. That's TV on the Radio with Keep Your Heart on Free Association. I'm Mark Lane, and I've been told that if you bait the hook with your heart, the fish will always bite. That goes to you, Uncle Mike. And I did exactly that with my capstone project. I created a 20-minute radio pilot on healthcare reform. It was a panel discussion. We got some experts from some of the think tanks here in Washington, D.C., and I want you to listen to just a little segment here of it that pertains to the option there on whether or not you can be on your parents' health care coverage till age 26. I think it's relevant to our age group. I want to go ahead and play it now, and I also want to play it because it's gotten some pretty big acclaim, and I want you to know what I've been up to out here in Washington, D.C. Roll the tapes. This is Realpolitik with Mark Lane, and if you'd like to join the discussion, give us an email at realpolitik913@gmail.com or at my Twitter account at twitter.com/therealmarklane. Mr. Hans Kuttner is a visiting fellow at the Hudson Institute, served in the George H.W. Bush White House on the domestic policy staff with responsibility for health and social service programs. He also worked for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Mr. Kuttner, welcome to Realpolitik.
Glad to be with you.
And also joining us is Dr. Leighton Koo, who is a professor in the Department of Health Policy at George Washington University, and also the director for the Center of Health Policy Research. Dr. Koo, welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Welcome to Realpolitik. Appreciate it. I'm 23 years old. I'm about to enter the workforce. Now, under the new healthcare law, would my parents still have to pay for my health care until I reached the age of 26, even if my job could cover me? So, Mr. Kuttner, let's start with you.
One of the early into effect provisions of the healthcare reform law was a provision that was trying to reach out to young people and say, we're going to create a mechanism by which you can remain covered past the point where you might usually lose coverage. And in most plans today, that's the case that when you go to college or perhaps when you graduate from college, you no longer count as part of your parents' family unit. So if the parents signed up for family insurance, that meant that you lost your coverage through that thing. This is a permissive provision. It says that if you want to stay, or rather not really so much if you, the 23-year-old, but if your parents want to keep you as a part of their health insurance unit, they can keep you up to age 26. So it's going to depend on what parents do. I think in most cases what's going to happen is that parents and their kids will figure it out, and they'll do the easiest thing. So that if you're going off to a job and the employer says, we're offering you health insurance coverage and here's the premium, and the parents say, well, gosh, we've got family coverage here, and the family coverage premium is the same whether it's mom and dad and you, our child, or just mom and dad, why don't you stay on the family plan then for a couple more years until you're 26? I could see the case that a lot of people would wind up staying. But if your employer is offering this plan and it's coming to you at low cost, you probably would be better off moving on to your own employer's plan rather than staying on with your parents' plan. So it's a voluntary thing, and what's going to happen is going to depend on what parents and their kids work out. It's not a requirement that parents continue to cover their kids. It's not a prohibition on young people being able to say, thanks, mom and dad, but I'm going to go off on my own coverage through my new employer.
Dr. Koo, do you concur or have anything to add?
Mostly. The new provisions offer more choices to young adults and their families. so that you can get either insurance through your family or as an individual. Part of the underlying logic behind this was among the highest uninsurance rates in the country actually were young adults, and part of it really had to do with the problem that in many cases people, when they passed the age of 21, were no longer covered under their family's policies, but they didn't yet have jobs that offered health insurance or couldn't afford to purchase health insurance on their own. So this was why this was, again, set up, I think, as Mr. Kuntner properly said, it was as a voluntary provision so that people had more choices, really with the hope of trying to bring down uninsurance levels among a population that had traditionally really been, often did not have health insurance coverage. Fortunately, one of the good things, I envy you for your 23-year-oldness to the extent that 23-year-olds fortunately tend to be pretty healthy. So that in most cases, the costs of health insurance are relatively low compared to old people like Hans and myself.
See? Yeah, all right. Well, here's Galactic with Bo Money on 91.3.